Hey everyone, we're Team D1 and we're here with some revolutionary COVID testing ideas for long-term care facilities. Our plan is to create a rigorous testing surveillance policy to limit the spread of COVID in long-term care facilities while improving resident opportunities for social engagement. Our aim is to have a 0% increase in facility cases while reintroducing socialization and visitation through our testing policy, which will allow residents to have at least 2 visitors a month. As we know, long-term care facilities have carried a heavy burden of COVID cases and mortality, resulting in lockdown of many facilities. We also know that isolation has had many negative consequences on residents, so we hope to mitigate this while maintaining the safety of our residents. Testing is one way to achieve this. The PCR tests are both sensitive and specific, but they're limited by high cost, need for skilled personnel and equipment, and time to return results can range in the hours to days. The antigen test is highly specific but less sensitive than PCR tests, with a sensitivity ranging from 84 to 97.6 compared to RT-PCR. However, advantages of the antigen test are that it is rapid results within 15 minutes and inexpensive, as little as $5. The antibody test is not useful for screening as it largely detects previous, not current, infection. In light of this, we will opt to use the antigen testing in much of our plan to come. In an urban, presumably highly populated county and a facility of 350 beds, Maplewood has a higher risk of COVID outbreak, and therefore a rigorous testing strategy can help maintain control over disease spread, especially since up to 40% of residents and 20% of staff are asymptomatic in studies conducted by long-term care facilities. So our proposed intervention has 3 prongs. We will test residents, staff, and visitors. So for residents, asymptomatic residents will undergo testing once every 14 days. Each of the wings of the manor will be represented every day. If a resident should come back with a positive test, we will PCR test the entire wing and staff. We will also be testing all staff every 7 days, even if asymptomatic. And a positive test, again, will warrant a PCR test of all the wing staff and residents. We prioritize staff here because we see them as the predominant way the community is introduced to the nursing facility. Lastly, we will also be screening our visitors. So on the day of their visit, visitors will come 15 minutes early to get an antigen test. And if that is negative, they will be allowed to visit their loved ones. If there is another person that would like to visit the resident, they will be allowed to provide a proof of a negative PCR test within 48 hours. So again, the visitation policy will have visitors call to reserve a time. They'll arrive 15 minutes early for the antigen testing. They'll fill out a questionnaire about their symptoms, risk factors, recent travel, and so on and so forth, and then receive a free rapid COVID test. They will be able to visit with their loved one in a safe space with PPE. The staff will monitor and make sure that guests are wearing their PPE correctly, and then they will be able to visit again in 2 weeks. So some of the strengths of this are that the antigen tests are rapid and inexpensive. They will help us minimize the number of COVID cases at the facility and provide more opportunities for safe family and friends visitation, as well as resident activities with each other in their respective wings. The barriers include the number of testing. Without any positive cases, this plan will account for 2,200 tests a month. If we come into a situation where we don't have enough tests to continue maintaining this, we will prioritize staff testing because once again, we see them as kind of the gateway into the community for many of our residents, and then followed by resident testing, and then lastly, visitor testing. We may also consider risk stratification of staff in terms of symptoms, risk factors, which will further limit our lottery pool if that should be necessary. Another barrier, I think, which is not uncommon to our plan, is limited staffing if tests should come back positive. And this is a global issue that needs to be addressed with more lobbying and more training of staff, as well as better benefits for them. Lastly, there are limited activities available for residents outside the facility under this plan at this time. This is our team. Thank you for listening.